Continuing with our Climate Watch coverage, over the years, research has shown that women tend to take a more active role in protecting the environment. Some scientists have chalked this up to personality differences, but a new study profiled in Scientific American shows men may resist green behavior because they find it unmanly. Now, one of the authors of that study is Dr. James Wilkie. He's also a marketing professor at the University of Notre Dame. James, thanks for joining us. But what made you interested in this study? Because it's an interesting phenomenon. Were you surprised by what you found also?
First of all, it was an interesting project to take because it's an important topic in society, right? The environment over the years has really deteriorated, and there's a lot of different reasons for that, obviously. So we were interested in seeing, well, is one reason due to this gender difference or this sex difference? Because over the years, it's been found that men tend to be less environmentally friendly than women, both in their actions and their attitudes. So we were interested in seeing, well, could one reason why this be not just because of personality differences? For instance, women tend to be more altruistic, more friendly towards other people, more warm, they care about their children and the future. But is it also possibly more of a strategic angle to it? Do men try to actually stay away from being eco-friendly because the actions are perceived to be more feminine in nature, which would be this obstacle that men have to overcome in order to actually take on this type of behavior?
And of course, to get this kind of data, you're having to do experiments. Can you talk to me more about some of the experiments you conducted and what do they show?
Well, we did a series of experiments over about a year and a half. Some of them were conducted through online panels. They were conducted mostly in the United States, but we also did a couple of experiments abroad within China. We have a colleague who was part of this team that we had. Which we called the Green Team, actually, because we were interested in this topic. And she went into a grocery store, for instance, and had people track the amount of plastic bags that they purchase within a grocery store and see, okay, is it more likely for men or women to actually take on and have these plastic bags, because it costs money in China actually to purchase plastic bags because they're bad for the environment. And what they found there was that men were indeed less likely to purchase these bags. And follow-up interviews found that they stated that these bags were perceived to be more feminine in nature. If you were to bring your own bag, a plastic bag would be seen as being more masculine in a sense. So some of the experiments were more scenario-based, where we had people imagine what they would do or what types of products they would prefer, whereas other ones were more based off of actual choices. So, for instance, what type of plastic bag they would choose, the plastic bag or a canvas bag.
In another interesting study that happened a few years ago, researchers found that more parents were actually buying organic food, not for themselves, but for their children. Do you see any differences with men who usually don't want to do maybe the healthier thing or the altruistic thing, but men who become fathers and now they're thinking of their kids? Did you see any changes there?
Well, that's actually an interesting question. We didn't analyze the data by whether or not people are parents, although I could certainly see how the men who are parents might be more likely to be environmental in nature because they do care a little bit more about the future, now that they can take on the perspective of their children and what the environment might be like for them one day. So that's an interesting question, which we didn't break down the data by, but really this project is about how important it is to men to be perceived as being masculine to both themselves and the world. And if parenthood actually decreases that motivation, then you should see a decrease in the inhibition to actually choose green products.
And I know marketing people always study, trends and what people want to do when it comes to their shopping habits. And we've seen with some industries already, Coca-Cola making Coke Zero, because apparently there were some men who weren't buying Diet Coke. So from a marketing perspective, should companies rebrand their products to appeal more to men to get them to recycle or buy more green-friendly products?
Well, that's one thing that we suggest is men have this barrier that they need to overcome in order to want to actually purchase these things. And that barrier, which we're suggesting, is that these products come off to be more feminine in nature. So oftentimes you can simply reframe the message, reframe the branding to make it seem more masculine. And that takes away that obstacle that's preventing men from choosing it in the first place. So diet soda is a perfect example of how companies used to call, or they came out with a new variety of soda that they call 0 calorie instead of diet. And men are more drawn to those things because it doesn't come with the negative consequences of being perceived as feminine when they drink it. Another example of this is also body wash. Body wash used to be a product category exclusively for women, and through some clever advertising of using people like Ironhead Haywood, who was a big football player in the 80s, they made it so that it was okay for men to actually use body wash. And now that's something that you see in the men's aisle in the departments or grocery store.
It's a fascinating topic. Dr. James Wilkie, I want to thank you for your time. Dr. James Wilkie from the University of Notre Dame.
Thank you.